fact, that was how I got interested in co-housing in the first place. I was going to school at the University of Copenhagen for a year studying housing, just studying housing in the country. And as I walked to the train station every day, I noticed that there was this one project where that was different than the others. Walk by the single-family houses, there was no life between the buildings. Walk by the apartment buildings, there was no life between the buildings. Walk by the plejehjem, the senior housing, there was no life. A single-family house, there was no life between. But then there was this one development that every time I walked by it, there were people stopping, chatting, who apparently knew each other, who apparently cared about each other, sitting and having a cup of tea, coming and going from this building where everybody lived but nobody lived. I mean, where nobody lived but everybody lived. And later finding out that was the common house. In fact, finally I stopped and I asked this woman, you know, what's going on here? You know, how come there's always people out here? And this woman said, you know, sit down, have a cup of tea, and explained to me that her and her husband had bought this site and had chose to develop a custom neighborhood. In their view, the neighborhood was a very important component to their quality of life, and they did not want to take chances with it. They took a very conservative role, really, that this was an important institution, not only as important as the single-family house, as important as the public realm, hospitals and roads, but there's this common realm, this group of 20, 30 people that I can depend on day in and day out that actually play a role in my well-being that would facilitate my sense of quality of life. And it was really, so they decided to buy this property and make a custom neighborhood. And in many ways, it's not much more complicated than that. You know, making a custom neighborhood that really fulfills the real needs of not only you as an individual, but as a society, a smaller society, as the size of a town, a country, and a planet. Many people argue that co-housing is nothing new except for recreating what used to happen naturally and introducing this whole concept of common realm. We have our private realm, our private house, that we fulfill those needs. We have our public realm, the houses, the hospitals, the roads, and then there's this common realm of a group of 30, 40 people that solves a lot of my personal needs much better than either of the other two realms. For anybody who's ever been to a public workshop, for example, in Verksted, you know, where you make things, you know, tools get missing, tools get lost. Or if you've been to your own private workshop, you know, you rarely have the money to buy all the tools. But if you go to my workshop, you will find that there's lots of tools, lots of people who know what they're doing, and the radio's on, and somebody has some beer, and so that fulfills that need for me personally better than either of the possibilities, and lots of other activities like that one that fulfill my personal needs. It's possible, you know, that Ayn Rand, the author, was correct. You know, she basically rationalized selfishness, and you know, that you're rarely going to do anything that's not obviously fulfills your own needs. Well, if you go in and you make it clear with this group of people that we can actually fulfill your personal needs better, several aspects of your personal needs better collectively than we can by yourself, then it gets a lot easier. Well, I think one of the things the Danes have done well, and we're doing it better and better all the time, is forget about trying to convince anybody. You know, the developers or the politicians, or even the architects. Find the sympathetic ones and work with them. The people who have been working on this kind of stuff for a long time, never been able to implement it for one reason or another. They're out there, and frankly, as soon as they find out that co-housing is absolutely the greenest thing you can possibly make, it attracts a lot of architects who talk about green all day long. But they talk about it in terms of a different light bulb or a different, door handle, and they don't necessarily talk about it, what people can accomplish with real relationships, you know, over years and years.